Probably the most fascinating part of this work by far is we've now spoken to, God, thousands of young people as part of these focus groups across the United States. We've even spoken to some internationally. And the information they share with us is always the exact same. We kind of joke that we really don't have to remake our PD when we go school to school because we know what the kids are going to tell us. They always tell us the same information. And what really stands out to me are what we call ratio questions. We'll sometimes ask kids like, what percentage of your work would you describe as independent versus how much would you have your work would you describe as being in a group, and what would be your preferred ratio? So to go through a few of those, every single group tells us that 90 to 100% of their work is independent, and 10 to 0% is in a group. And we ask them, okay, what's the preferred ratio? 50-50, maybe 40-60. And 9 times out of 10, when we ask them, where is that group work happening? It's in their electives. It's in all of their classes that they got to choose, which hand in hand end up being their favorite classes, are the ones where they get to talk with their peers. Because of course, we ask them questions about how much of your work is like self-paced, where you're working through like a Google document or a worksheet or something like that, versus how much of it is hands-on. And we found increasingly, especially since COVID began, that number is actually 100-0, that all of it, nearly all of it, is independent, self-paced through a Google document, especially for students at the margins, students that are both like remediating work, that are doing like credit recovery, but also kids who are now like in AP courses or college courses where they need to get through so many standards to meet the test needs. And they're just going through all these self-paced documents, and kids don't like that. Their preferred ratio is, again, like 50-50. We ask community members the exact same questions about how they feel about school and what their school experience was like and what they wish for their own kids. And they tell us, again, it should be 50-50. So to me, we use all these different buzzwords in education, like interdisciplinary learning, self-paced learning, authentic learning, and those can be interpreted in a variety of different ways. But at its core, the foundation of this is people know the way that we're learning in school doesn't make a lot of sense. Kids see it, parents see it, admins see it. Getting to what Yong was saying earlier, there's this disconnect between actually catalyzing that and getting it started because we potentially distrust each other or don't think it's going to work. But like, we kind of know what we need to do. So the foundation that HRP sets is in our 4 values. And to briefly talk about those, we talk about purpose finding community relevance, the fact that learning should be centered on helping kids discover who it is that they want to be. That both means from a career standpoint, but also like literally what are their values? What matters to them? Where do they want to live? Like actually thinking about and reflecting on those things, as well as getting involved in their local community and recognizing the assets there and who they are as an individual within that community. The second is that social justice is the cornerstone to educational success. We think it's hyper important, obviously, that classrooms are anti-racist and they support all kids. They're not anti-LGBTQIA. They actually recognize the humans that are there, because how can you learn in a space that doesn't respect who you are as a person? The third is that dehumanizing practices do not belong in school. We know that things like grading and standardized testing usually cause more harm than good. And there are models to change those things. It's not like we have to give up all forms of assessment, but there are ways that we can do this in a sense where, we're not harming kids. And I think, again, like Yong probably knows this quite well. He's literally written books on it. And then finally, learners are respectful toward each other's innate human worth. We talk a lot about autonomy, a lot about supporting teachers, autonomy both for kids, but also for adults. And if we have these foundations in place, we can play around those foundations within our own context and community and build something different. That idea of sustainability is important here, because if you have these frameworks in place and you're approaching these ideas from this mindset, kids will be the ones that defend the practices. If you have practices in place where kids are working in groups and doing cool stuff in their community and going on field trips and putting together these portfolios and really excited about going to school, and then let's say they transition to the high school, which is not like that, both family members and kids are going to be like, what the hell? Like, why are we not doing this now? And they're going to be their own self-advocates to making that change.
So there's the student side of things, right, that Chris is speaking to, but there's the teacher side as well. And I know we had written in that blog post that like most people are dissatisfied with the professional development that they receive. In a lot of ways, I think it's only about 29% are satisfied. which leaves the other 71% dissatisfied. So we know PD overwhelmingly sucks for teachers because it is sort of one size fits all, one and done, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the other half of this too for us, is again, not just rehumanizing the experience of school for kids, but also rehumanizing it for teachers as well. And so those principles that Chris had mentioned, of course, create a learning experience for kids that's built on those things. But how does the work that we do with schools actually model those values? In fact, it does so in a way where I think about 90% of attendees at our last conference, our virtual conference just a couple of weeks ago, said it was the best virtual conference that they had attended. The testimonials that we get for the PD work that we do with schools say stuff like, this organization has tapped into the original why of many educators that's often lost or overshadowed by the unfair or unrealistic expectations placed on our public schools. Another one said, your group has articulated the things that I instinctually know, but have lost in all of my PD and College Board years of training. I'm 25 years into this gig, glad I can reacquaint myself with what originally got me into teaching and finish my career ethically whole. Another person, this will be the last one, but on our conference said, the conference to restore humanity was a transformative experience for my educator soul. I am grateful for this experience that left me feeling renewed to embrace the challenges we're facing and make a real difference in the lives of my students and ultimately the world as a whole. And so it's not just a touchy-feely kind of, kumbaya thing. It really is in terms of empowerment, in the sense that I feel like I both have the desire and the tools in my toolkit to go back into my context and make that change, and to get on board with the squad of people, to borrow from Jose Luis Vilson, who I'm going to need to partner with to do this work, right? It's not Band-Aid solutions. It's not go back and try this magic potion. It's, hey, the work is going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. How can we restore humanity to education together, right? It sounds cheesy, it sounds hokey, but really, is there a mission in education that is bigger than that? I don't think so. So that's why we're focused on it so hard.